Ricky Gervais, David Brent, Life on the Road, now being streamed on Netflix. But before we talk about that, I had a couple of other questions for you. You've been an award show host, especially at the Golden Globes. How would you have handled the end of the Oscars this year if you had been the host?
Well, did I have to go out and do something, or could I have hidden backstage? Do I have to deal with it? I don't know. I'd have probably well, first of all, I mean, apart from the politics of how important these things are and they shouldn't go wrong, and someone was paid to make sure, no one died. Someone read out the wrong name. There's wars going on. There's people. Do you know what I mean? Come on. If that is the most interesting thing that happened at an award show, let's not have that award show anymore. So they read out the wrong name. There was the wrong envelope. People make mistakes. Who cares? I can't believe that it was like taken so seriously as this. I mean, just think of the things that the president says every day, and I think someone reading out the wrong name will be put into context.
But you have to admit it was quite shocking in the moment. Were you watching it live, or how did you see it?
Well, it's obviously you feel for the people that thought they'd won for a second. That's not nice. But I mean, it's an award. It's voted for, and I mean, it's so arbitrary anyway, isn't it? It's just a vote. You can't. It's not like someone saying, "Oh, the tests have come back. You're fine." "Oh no, you're not. You're going to die." That's terrible. That's awful news. You won an award. "Oh no, you haven't." "Oh, okay. Don't worry. Don't worry."
I think for about 5 minutes, those producers felt that way, though, that it was the end of their lives.
Well, it's embarrassing, isn't it? It's embarrassing because it's, in entertainment, arguably the most prestigious award there is. And, I can't imagine how many, millions of dollars, it changed hands to make this the biggest show on the planet. So it's embarrassing to not have the right envelope. I mean, you could do that beforehand. Never mind like years of preparation and people being paid millions. I could go, "Who's won?" "Okay, right, say this." There you go. Just say that. It's funny when you think of how easy it is to get it right. But I mean, again, no one died. No one died. It's an award show. But yeah, it would have been annoying. Oh, see, if I was host, I'd have tried to be funny and laugh it off and apologize and whatever. But if I'd have been the one that they said I'd won and then I hadn't, I'd have trashed the place. I said, no. On quiz shows when they say, "I can only accept your first answer," I'd have said that. I said, "No, they said I'd won. I can only accept the first answer. I'm having the award." He said, Faye Dunaway said my name, and she's not a liar. So
try and take it away.
Yeah. Bonnie and Clyde said I won. So are you arguing with Bonnie and Clyde?
How great would it be if the producers for the next the 90th ceremony next March got Faye and Warren to present Best Picture again? I mean, the lead up and the suspension would be incredible.
They should do that. I think they should anyway, because it was terribly embarrassing for them as well, and it's not their fault. I like the way that Warren Beatty knew something was wrong and thought, "I'll give this one to Dunaway." You know what I mean?
Well, the backstory on that, apparently the day before when they were at rehearsals, she kept insisting that she get to read Best Picture winner, that she get to actually say the name. So slyly in his mind, after the fact, I'm thinking, oh, he said, "Oh, you want to read Best Picture? Here you go."
I love stories like that. Insisted. I mean, and it gets things like that get out. So I don't. But yeah, I don't know. Who cares? That's
Speaking of awards, I love the fact that those are right behind you. Those Emmys and those BAFTA awards.
Yeah. Those little old things. But listen, you know, there's nowhere in this room I can go without awards. So, you know, I mean, they're everywhere. What can I do? There's nowhere I can sit in, not just this house. There's nowhere I can sit in London without there being one of my awards visible.
You'll have to have a warehouse eventually. I think Bob Hope got so many in his career that he had a warehouse that was just awards.
Yeah, it's I don't put them in the house or anything. They're just in my little study, my little office. So yeah, it's not like they're on display for all to see. Just me. I come in and lock myself in every night and just look at them all.
No tour groups coming through looking at them?
No, they're not allowed to look at my awards. I do the same with my money. I get my money out every night and just look at it. My awards. Someone's going to believe this. Someone's going to say, I heard that Ricky Gervais sits in a room made of gold and he looks at his money every night.
Well, I'm thrilled to see you got, after that bit you did with Steve Carell at the Emmys, that you actually do have that Emmy from that way.
I do. Yeah, that was funny. The thing is, I think I've been nominated, you know better than me, but I think it's 24. I think I found that out from you. I think I've been nominated 24 times.
Yeah, that's right. And so many different projects too, not
just... It's all different projects and all for different things. It's for writing, directing, and I've done a lot of projects, yeah. So I've upped my chances of being nominated over the last, 12 years. But it sounds impressive till you realise that actually I've lost 22 Emmys. So I've lost 22 times. And I'm usually there. And the one time that I wasn't at the Emmys, I won. I won my second Emmy, which was annoying. I just woke up to loads of calls from my agent going, you won an Emmy. I went, oh, I was half asleep. I went, oh, great. But it's being there, isn't it, that's the fun. It's not actually having it that's the fun. It's being there. It's that 10 seconds of excitement. Like, you know, so if you're not there, it's sort of virtual. If someone says you won an Emmy, but you weren't, it's like a tree fell in a forest, but there was no one there to hear it. But when I went back the next year, I actually accosted Steve on the way in and said, I've got an idea, right? And he went, do whatever you want. I went, okay. I said, well, can we get him an Emmy to sit with it? And we didn't rehearse it, or that was just something I thought of on the way in. And I actually saw Steve on the red carpet and he just went, do whatever you want to me. He said, do whatever you want.
Well, you might be back at the Emmys this year, and we love it whether you win or not, because you usually will present when you're a nominee. So we like to see you presenting on the Emmys.
There's two reasons I present when I'm asked, when I'm at the Emmys. One, we've seen the stats. I'm probably going to lose. So if I present, like last year, I found out, hold on, I can do my winning speech, even though I lost, because I'm up here now, and I did the fake winning speech when I'd lost,
right?
Which obviously made it obviously twice as funny. It wouldn't have been funny if I'd have won. In fact, if I'd have won, I'd have been all humble. I'd have said, "Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You've made an old actor very happy."
But you should have done the exact same speech again. That would you should have done the exact same speech again if you had actually won.
Yeah. And the other reason I always hand out an Emmy is because it's 3 hours long and they don't hand out alcohol. So I hand out an Emmy and I try and say, can you do it about halfway through the show? And I know I can go backstage and have a beer.
There you go. You're smart.
I'm British.
You don't have all these shows for no reason.
Exactly. Yeah. I wrote them all drunk.
Now let's talk about David Brent. I'm sure you have been asked 100 times or more over the past 15 years to bring him back. Why was now the right time?
Yeah, it's funny because I think when my version of The Office finished, 2003, 12 episodes and the special, and that was it. And it was right. It was right to do that. The managing the estate of David Brent never really went away for me. There was the American remake. Then there was 7 other local remakes around the world: French, Canadian, German, Spanish, all these. I also I own the right, so I had to say yes to clips for quiz machines, or when Martin Freeman was on a chat show talking about Fargo, they said, can we show a clip from The Office? I said, yeah. So it never really went away. And then when I got onto Twitter, which was maybe 8, 9, 10 years after my version, I realized that there was this groundswell. It was such a cult show that, people that were now sort of 30 years old grew up with it and so they were sending me quotes. The first time I was on Twitter, someone sent me, can I ask you a question? Who does your tampons? And I thought they were a troll. And I thought, wait, that's a line from The Office. And I realized there was still a real love for it. Okay. And you always assume that, but there's nothing like that sort of direct contact with social media. And then it was the 10-year anniversary of The Office, and I did a thing for Comic Relief, which is a big telethon here. I think you have it there now. And they'd always asked me to do this, and so I finally did it. And I did a little sketch. I think it was like 9 minutes, with what David Brent was doing now, and I made him like a tampon rep, but he was still on the periphery of entertainment, because I think that happens. I think that does happen when you've got that sort of dream. And he was managing a young rapper. He thought it was like a local Simon Cowell, and then you see him. He's meant to be paying for this guy's demos, and then he worms his way in on the demo and actually makes it one of his own songs, and gets him to do a rap on that, and that was Equality Street. And we recorded the song. I wrote the song, which was from one line, which was an ad lib in The Office, where David Brent says, we used to have a political reggae song called Equality Street. And then I wrote the song 10 years after that. What would that be like? And and he gets the rapper to do a little rap on it, and we did a video for it, and it went viral. Okay. And it was lovely. It was just lovely. I thought that was it. Right? But then I realised, David Brent's written a few songs now. I wrote 3 for The Office, Free Love Freeway, and Paris Nights, and Spaceman. And I did the first verse of those. So I wrote the other verses for those, like they'd always existed. I wrote a couple of other songs, and we did a little gig, just a little gig for fun, right? And I got a band together, which was Andy Burrows, who was a great musician. He was in a band called Razorlight. He's in lots of projects. And he had a ready-made band, and he learnt the songs, and it was fantastic. And we did this little gig, and I was thinking, and the tickets sold out really fast. There were 100,000 ticket requests for this little venue. Wembley actually called us the next day and said, you could play Wembley. I went, hold on, this is mental. Why is David Brent? And I had to think about how this happened. So I built into the narrative of the stage show, Brent saying, I'm not making any money from this because they're charging me a lot. They're session musicians, and overheads were a lot more than and that was the seed of the idea, that this was a vanity project by David Brent, that he was paying. He's decided he's so desperate for fame that he's going to pay for it now. He's worked hard, and he's going to cash in his pensions, and he's going to get a band together, a group of, mercenary session musicians who are just sort of fleecing him with no love for him. They're just taking the money, and there's old guy they're hanging around. It's embarrassing for them. And that was it. And I thought that would be a documentary. If that was real, if David Brent really was a sort of aging reality star from 15 years ago that no one remembers, and then he's decided to try and make it as a rock star, documentary teams would be queuing up, because there's that schadenfreude in those sort of things now. We're laughing at those people in a way. So I thought, that's the documentary. They're catching up with this guy, and it's his one last sort of shot at fame. And I'm so glad I did leave it till now, because the world's changed in those 15 years since The Office. The Office, apart from me working in an office for 10 years, where it was, it was all based on. I'd watched a lot of those quaint docu-soaps of the 90s, where ordinary people were followed around and they got their 15 minutes of fame and that was it. But now fame's a different animal. Now fame is insatiable. Now people do anything to stay famous, and it's a proper profession, and it's a multi-million-dollar profession for some, and they live their life like an open wound to be famous. Now there's no difference between fame and infamy. So people have realized, well, whatever happens, I can make a fool of myself. I can be hated, but at least I'm being paid to be on the telly being hated. And suddenly people realize, well, I can do bad things. And there's almost this unwritten contract between reality stars and things like Big Brother. They say, get me onto Big Brother and I will behave terribly. I'll run around, I'll take my clothes off, I'll be an idiot, I'll get into a fight. And they go, promise, you're on. And people got on The Apprentice by saying, I will destroy anyone who stands in my way. It's creating this drama, and it's like that we're creating these fictional villains, but they're real people. Do you know what I mean? So it's odd that I'm doing a written narrative drama pretending it's real about how the world's changed, where reality shows are fake now almost and contrived. So it was very odd. Cheers. Don't forget, it's 6 o'clock here.
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock here. So, going along that same line of thought, I love the scene in the radio station where you're going in to supposedly pitch, your gig, and the fact that you're back out again, and the radio host going off of your past and the fact that you were this documentary star that he says he doesn't even remember anymore. He really he makes fun of you the entire time you're on.
Well, yeah, again, that's quite a pivotal scene, because it reminds people that in Brent's mind, those were good days, and it was all worth it, and now he's doing it again. But then you find out that deep down, he knows it didn't work the first time, and he knows it won't work this time, and he's just addicted. He's addicted to this ridiculous dream, and that was his worst crime, really, in The Office. That he mistook popularity for respect, and it's a I suppose it's a shortcut that a lot of people take now, because it sometimes works. People see reality stars making a lot of money for sponsorship and doing terrible photo shoots and behaving badly and letting the cameras in their life 24/7. And whatever's happened to them, even if they're not respected or they're laughing at them, they think, they're made how much? Well, I can do that. Do you know what I mean? It's like queuing up to be ridiculed or despised, but who cares if you make $5 million? So there's a whole generation of people that are playing that game. They know all the pitfalls, and and they don't care, because nowadays people would rather be known for being an absolute idiot than not known at all. It's like fame is everything. Fame makes everything better, and it just doesn't. It just doesn't. So it's about that. It's about Brent being sort of sold a lie, and with that, our sympathies are slightly more with him. When he was in The Office, he was 39. He was the boss of basically a nice place where people were nice people, and he was in his element. It was his first little bit of fame, and he thought he'd be discovered. Now he's not the boss. He's 55. He's a tampon rep, and the alpha male is very different now, and he's almost bullied these guys. So you realise that he wasn't so bad compared to what bad people are like today. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think anybody that I can think of right now blends the laugh out loud type of comedy with, you have all, in every project you do, you also have some heart. I mean, especially at the end of this movie, when you go back to work and one of your coworkers sticks up for you, throws the water. I mean, just you always blend really laugh out loud stuff with heart, and I'm sure that's intentional from your end. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I suppose. I don't know. I think people are surprised still because they assume that I'm like a controversial shock comic, which I've never been really. I do that ironically. My stand-up, I deal with sort of taboo subjects, and I'm quite brutal because I'm sort of playing a persona of that guy. Same at the Golden Globes, I'm playing an outsider and I'm roasting. But when I write narrative drama, everything from The Office to Extras, Derek, and this movie, real people have two sides. No one's completely nice and completely evil. No one's completely cool or completely nerdy. We're a mixture of all those things. It's funny, when Derek first came out, people were saying, I like it, but is it a comedy or a drama? And I'd say, well, it's a fake documentary, so what's your life? It's a bit of both, isn't it? We're mucking around, then we find a lump. Every day there's good and bad. And at the end of this film, David Brent says, life's a struggle. You have to go through all those sort of heartaches and heartbreak, and get to those little lovely surprises that make it all worth living. I think that's true of everyone. Most days people aren't just having fun 24/7. And most people have to go for a job they don't completely love. They have to deal with people they don't completely like. They have to deal with a boss who's not always fair. They have to do things that aren't always fun. When they're looking forward to 5 o'clock, or 6 o'clock in my case.
Another thing I liked about it, and it was such a nice inside joke, pretty much the whole way, especially once you started the music portion. It's David Brent life on the road, but the road in this case is basically his neighborhood.
Of course, and there's another sort of pun really, because life on the road, it's about being a rock star, but actually the song is about him being a rep, because he's up and down the country selling tampon dispensers and urinal lozenges and stuff, and so it shows that he means it. He's written a song about his life, and he thinks that's a cool job being a rep. That's the thing with David Brent. He means all these songs that we're sort of laughing at. We're laughing at his blind spot because he means them. He thinks these are great songs. He thinks there's nothing funny about writing a song about, the admin of getting his laundry done and stuff like that. He thinks it's rock and roll to be on the road and being a rep. So yeah, it's. I think they're putting that song in for the best title music for the Emmys as well. Life on the Road.
Now, wouldn't that be cool? You're going to be on the Emmy ballot as a producer, director, writer, and actor, but also in the song category.
Yeah, as a failed rock star, I've never let it go. I do it with a big chunk of obviously hiding behind irony these days. But yeah, I wrote songs for The Office. I wrote a song with David Bowie for Extras. I wrote a song for The Simpsons that I sang to Marge. I wrote a song for Elmo when I did Sesame Street. So I've always been a failed rock star.
How incredible would that be to get an award for your songwriting, though? Think about that too. Over the years, at the Emmys, several funny songs have won, especially. Seth Meyers has an Emmy for writing an SNL song. Sarah Silverman has one for Jimmy Kimmel Live, and Rachel Bloom was nominated last year for her show.
Oh, it'd be lovely. I wouldn't take it. I'd take it seriously as a comedic achievement more than a musical achievement. But it's still nice. And even when I'm writing the songs as David Brent, you're still actually writing the songs. I'm actually using real chords and a real guitar and a real voice and singing. You go through all the same, disciplines and skills and emotions, really. In fact, when we were mixing the album, which is a David Brent album, and you're in character. Even you think about what would he do? What would he do with this production and stuff? But when we're playing down a track like Slough, before the silly lyrics kick in, it's beautiful. When you almost think, "Oh, I wish I was taking this seriously. Oh, I wish I was a rock star." Because to me, music is the greatest art form. It's off the charts. I mean anything, comedy, writing, poetry. There's nothing like music. There's nothing as evocative. It's like downloading an emotion. I know how a chord can make you cry. I want to know the psychology of it, because there's something very, very innate and human about how music moves you without you knowing how. It's physical. It bypasses the conscious. So I'm in awe of real musicians. I feel slightly guilty. Was David Brent does gigs, and he sells out arenas in 3 minutes, and I think the real bands out there that have just sold their van because they really know they can make it, and they're so much better than me, and they go, "What? A fat 55-year-old pretend rep just sold out." So I'm mildly embarrassed, but I want to tell every musician out there, I do not take this seriously. You're better than me. You're the real thing. I'm a joke.
Well, speaking of arenas and concert halls, you're back in stand-up again right now in England, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. Well,
you're going to do any in America?
Yeah, I'm doing all around the UK. I've just been to Iceland, and I'm doing Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Holland, doing Europe, UK, Ireland, Scotland. Then I'm coming to North America, and I'm doing US and Canada select gigs. I'm doing them. My first one is New York, Madison Square Garden in May. That's sold out, but I'm going to do another one, which I think goes on sale this Friday. I don't know when this is going out. It goes on sale this Friday, and in October. So I'm doing two gigs in New York and 3 in LA at the Dolby Theatre in October, and Chicago I'm doing again, and Toronto. And then I've never loved doing stand-up as much as this tour, for loads of reasons, really. I approached it differently. I approached it much more like a stand-up and less like a famous comedian doing stand-up. Now I feel like a stand-up for the first time, and that's really odd to say that in your 50s on your fifth big tour. But I approached it differently. I walked out on stage and just started talking to people. Whereas before I wrote the shows, I wrote them like an Edinburgh show, and I had multimedia, and it was more like an event. And now it's a guy walking out in jeans and a t-shirt and talking for 90 minutes, and it just feels better. It feels realer. More connection. It's going great. It's going down better than ever, I think, and I'm enjoying it more than ever. So, I couldn't have asked for more. I want to do it again. I put it off for like 7 years because things push it back. You want to go on tour, but then Derek came along, and these things, even though I only do like 2 series and a special, because I write it and direct it, and I'm in it, I do their own press. That's still 3 years of my life. So, Derek happened, and then 2 movies happened, which is another sort of, 2-3 years. So it was 7 years before I got to do my next show, and I'm not going to leave it that long till the next time. I could retire now from everything, except I would just do stand-up. I'd just be like Jerry and Chris Rock and those guys that just do it. They don't. Jerry thinks it's mad that I do a second and third.
Jerry, I watch his comedians in car shows where he's discussing this all the time, and he's such a perfectionist. He has to get everything down to the syllable. If a syllable or a sentence gets off track, he's just so mad at himself.
But he doesn't understand why I do anything else. He doesn't get it. He thinks he says you're a stand-up. Why would you want to do anything else? And I'm sort of I know what he means now, because there isn't anything like it. There isn't. And when you're playing, you write, which is great. I love writing and I love creating, I love directing, I love all those things. But there's nothing like walking out and just being you to 10,000 strangers. There's nothing like it. And I suppose that's the same as being a rock star. Maybe it's that. Maybe that's why. Maybe I failed at being a rock star, but being a comedian's the same. You're doing it. You're yourself. You're under your own name, and you're doing what you want. That's the most exciting thing for me about stand-up. No restrictions outside your own morality. No one says what you can and can't say. There's no filter between you and what they hear. They might not get it. They might not like it. But there's been no one going over your notes saying you can't say that in this theatre. And that's really exciting. That's why I took the Golden Globes job. They said I could say what I wanted. And people keep saying, would you ever do the Oscars? And I say, if they said I could say what I wanted, which they never will. They never will. So that excites me more than anything, I think. And as I get older, this show is about offence and freedom of speech. I've always dabbled with it, but this show is overtly about what's wrong with society and what's gone wrong with humanity. I mean, the joke is that it's me whinging from the most privileged position imaginable. But it is about those things. It's about social media and what's gone wrong and people being angry and getting in the way and wanting to be heard and, opinion being rated above actual fact. And, all those things that we've heard about in the last couple of years more than ever. So I'm very excited about stand-up. And having said that, I go out on tour and I'm playing an arena and I feel guilty that I'm not doing anything in the day. Because I think, well, that's only an hour and a half. I should be doing a second job. I think it's because I was so lazy growing up and I didn't get a job till I was like 28 and I didn't make it till I was 38. I think that the first half of my life was my retirement. And now I think I've got to work all the time to make up for it. But I'm absolutely loving it. I can't wait to bring it to America.
Well, I'm based in California now, so I'm hoping to maybe, I had heard that you were going to be here in October, so I'm hoping to get over.
Yeah, come along to Dolby, yeah.
Speaking of Golden Globes, this will be my last question, because I know we're running out of time, but would you be open to coming back and hosting again?
I would. It's funny because the first time I did it, I was a little bit worried, and I thought, this isn't quite me, and I sort of went along and did it, and I wanted to do it again straight away, because I thought, I didn't make the most of that. And the second year, I did make the most of it. That was the year that suddenly everyone was talking about it, like I'd been a mass murderer. And then I did it the third time because people were saying he'd never be invited back. He's finished in this town. And then when I said definitely, just to shut up those idiots. And then I didn't do it. And I said no to the fourth time, which was like 3 years after, and they persuaded me. And I was busy, and now I definitely would do it again. I definitely would do it again. I leave it. Because I just think it's just fun. I treat it like a fun 3 hours. You know, I feel that nothing. I don't worry about those or what could go wrong, because nothing can go wrong now. I mean, it's what, you know. If the things I've said and done over the past 15 years hasn't ruined my career, I can't think what I'd have to say to put my career in jeopardy. It's because I create my own labour. I'm not beholden to anyone in the room. I don't have to worry about what a producer or director or NBC thinks of me, because if they don't like me, I'll do this. I'll just talk to you. If I'm banned from every studio and every TV, I'll just talk to you every day.
If your career is relying on that, it's gone. It's worse than David Brent's. Listen, thank you so much. This is like an annual treat for me to get to talk to you, and I really appreciate it.
Not enough.
Oh yeah, it's wonderful, and I'm so glad you're back on the Emmy Awards ballot. I'm hoping the voters watch and mark you down a few times.
Oh, I hope they do. You know them more than me. I don't know who they are. If I knew who they were, I'd send them a muffin basket. But once again, I haven't got a campaign. I don't know who votes. I'm not in America. I'm on tour. So if you know, isn't there about 10,000 Emmy voters?
There are, and they vote in their own category. So like in your acting race, only actors would vote there, and in your song race, only composers would vote there, and so forth.
I've got no chance.
I don't know. That 20-something nominations, that tells you a lot.
Yeah, I want to win one, though. I'm sick of this. This is embarrassing now. I want my 25th nomination, and I want to win it. I want to win one. Otherwise, it's a long way, the Emmys.
Thanks so much, Ricky.
Thank you. Cheers.